Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You are welcome to attend the fourth lecture of biochemistry in endo and reproductive module. The topic of today's lecture is biochemistry of posterior pituitary hormones. Let's see the objective of today's lecture. Today we will try to describe the general structure and location of posterior pituitary gland. Then we will try to see the hormones synthesized by posterior pituitary gland. Another objective is to describe the structure, secretion, transport and biochemical actions of hormones of posterior pituitary. And in the end we will see some endocrine disorders related to posterior pituitary gland. So these are the objectives. Let's move to cover these objectives one by one. Now first thing is to some introduction regarding the structure, organization and location of posterior pituitary gland. Although when we were discussing anterior pituitary and hypothalamus, we discussed that posterior pituitary is actually the part of pituitary gland, and pituitary gland is associated with the hypothalamus, and there is a connection in the form of pituitary stalk between the hypothalamus and pituitary, and number of regulatory factors synthesized by the hypothalamus are transported to the pituitary gland and they perform their regulatory actions over there. Actually, the posterior pituitary is also named as neurohypophysis, and it is located in the theta trachea at the floor of the brain. It is considered as outgrowth of hypothalamus neural ectoderm. There are two main nucleus, two main points or the group of nucleus, or these are the actually the projections of meganocellular neurosecretory cells, which are extending from the supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. These are the actual secretory cells of the hypothalamus, and they manufacture two important hormones of the posterior pituitary. These are the antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin and oxytocin. And there is a bridge or the contact or the tract between the hypothalamus and pituitary, through which these secretions are moved from hypothalamus to the pituitary gland. Actually, there are various parts, and regarding the types of the cells and the component present in the posterior pituitary, we can say that it has a large number of unmyelinated nerve fibers. Uh, Many blood vessels, nerve cells, and hyaline bodies are present in the posterior pituitary. The cells of pituitary gland, which are the supporting cells, are called pituicytes. These cells act to support the large number of nerve fibers and terminals ending coming as a nerve tract from the hypothalamus to pituitary. The two hormones, as I already mentioned, are the secretion of supraoptic and paraventricular nucleus, and they are actually synthesized within the vicinity of hypothalamus, but as they are released by the posterior pituitary, that's why they are considered as hormones of posterior pituitary gland. So posterior pituitary are actually synthesized with their combining or the binding proteins within the supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. Antidiuretic hormone or the vasopressin is concerned to control plasma osmolality, plasma concentration, its strength or its osmolality is maintained by ADH. While the another hormone of posterior pituitary, that is oxytocin, has its main action on uterine contraction and milk ejection in lactating women. So here we have a very brief introduction about the source and main functions of the hormones of posterior pituitary gland. Some more information regarding these hormones of posterior pituitary, that is the ADH and oxytocin, is that these hormones were isolated first time in this gland in 1954 by the scientist whose name was D. Vaguenet, and then these scientists at that time were able to recognize, understand, and explore the structure of these chemicals, and then they are able to synthesize first time. So first time the hormone which was synthesized by biochemical processes were the ADH and oxytocin, and this achievement was historical and considered as a milestone in the field of endocrinology, because the first time these biologically active hormones were synthesized. Now we are ready to see the detail of these hormones one by one, considering their various aspects like biomolecular structures, mode of release, mechanism of action, and different specific biochemical actions of each of these two hormones. Now, number one we have to consider is the antidiuretic hormone, or the ADH. It is also called vasopressin. Structurally, if you see the molecular structure of antidiuretic hormone or even oxytocin, both of them are composed of 9 amino acids. There are 9 amino acids which are arranged in this fashion, in this pattern, to create the structure of antidiuretic hormone or oxytocin. So first consider the structure of detailed structure of antidiuretic hormone. It is called nanopeptide because there are 9 amino acids organized in this way. 6 of them fused in a cyclic way to form a ring, while 3 are found at the site, and one specific amino acid is arginine. It is also known as arginine vasopressin because of the presence of arginine, and its another name vasopressin is given because of its vasoconstrictive or vasopressor effect. There are certain specific receptors on which these hormones, particularly the antidiuretic hormone, perform its action. These are V1A. These are found in vascular smooth muscles, in blood vessels, and when ADH combined with these receptors, the actions observed is vasoconstriction. These receptors V1A are also present in the liver and brain. V1B receptors for the ADH hormones are present in anterior pituitary, while the V2 receptors for ADH hormones are found in kidney, particularly in the collecting tubules, where they cause antidiuresis. Antidiuresis means they prevent the loss of water. Formation of urine is decreased by the action of ADH through V2 receptors in the renal tubules. As a result, the concentrated and reduced amount of urine is formed, and all of this phenomena is called antidiuresis. Actually, diuresis means the formation of large amount of urine. That's why I am sure that you remember the term used in pharmacology or in renal field, That's diuretic. Diuretic is a group of medicines which increases the rate of urine formation. That's why injection of a small amount of ADH or antidiuretic hormone in an individual or in an animal results in prevention, decrease and reduce formation of urine. Thus, on the basis of this mechanism, the name of antidiuretic hormone is given to this hormone of posterior pituitary. If we look upon the some more structure about the antidiuretic hormone, then we will notice that the another hormone of anterior pituitary beside antidiuretic is oxytocin. Oxytocin is also having same structure. It is also a nanopeptide. But the main difference between the biomolecular structure of oxytocin and ADH is the sequence of amino acid. Both of them have 9 amino acids forming their structures, but they differ from each other in respect to the 2 amino acids only. So there is a difference of only 2 amino acids. Otherwise, their overall organization is same. You are not required to remember the pinpoint detail of placement of amino acids in this sequence, but remember that both of them are nanopeptide, both of them are composed of 9 amino acids, and there is a ring of 6 amino acids in its one end. So this was a little detail about the structural organization and receptors of antidiuretic hormone. There are two nuclei already mentioned that these are present in the hypothalamus and they are secreting hormone of the posterior pituitary. It is claimed that the antidiuretic hormone ADH is synthesized by paraventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus, while the other nucleus which is supraoptic is responsible for the secretion of oxytocin. But according to most of the authorities, it is not compulsory, and that's why they said that both of them are secreting ADH and oxytocin. But those who have done research in detail, they claim that ADH mainly comes from paraventricular nucleus, while the oxytocins is coming from supraoptic nucleus. Because it is concerned with the regulation of the blood volume, fluid volume of the body, that's why plasma osmolality and body water content are the main factors involved in the release or the rate of secretion of ADH hormone from posterior pituitary. It has been noticed that the discharge or the release of ADH from posterior pituitary is increased by many factors like increased plasma oncotic pressure and hypovolemia, means reduction in the blood volume, water contents, reduction in body fluids causes ADH to release to prevent the further loss of water to increase blood volume. Similarly, left atrial distension, exercise, physical activity, emotional states of anxiety, all these are the stimulatory effect to causes release of antidiuretic hormone. Other ADH stimulants are the various pharmacological and neurological factors like cholinergic stimulation, alpha adrenergic stimulation, angiotensin 2, prostaglandin, opiates, derivatives, nicotine, histamine, ether, phenobarbital. So these biochemical and pharmacological agents also causes the release of antidiuretic hormone from posterior pituitary. Here is the information regarding the pattern of secretion of antidiuretic hormone. We know that the main biochemical action of antidiuretic hormone is to prevent, to conserve, to restore or to maintain water content of the body and regulate tonicity of the body fluid. This mechanism or this function of ADH is primarily regulated by osmotic and volume stimuli. Any change in the volume, any change in osmotic or the oncotic pressure have effect on the secretion of ADH. For example, all those situations where water is deprived, water is reduced in the body, it causes increase in osmolality of the plasma, means plasma concentration or plasma become more thick, which activates hypothalamic osmoreceptors to stimulate ADH release. So whenever body fluids become concentrated and reduce in amount and relatively water content is decreased, then all these factors, all these situations give a message to the hypothalamus that there is increase in concentration, the fluid is of very high concentration, so water is required, water should be prevent from the loss through urine, and it is achieved through the secretion of ADH. So here we have a diagrammatic explanation whatever written here, that osmoreceptors detect increased osmotic pressure. Whenever osmotic pressure is increased, osmoreceptors become active and they give message to the hypothalamic neuron. As a result, ADH is secreted, which causes vasoconstriction. As a result, there occur increased blood volume and increased blood pressure. On the other way, the baroreceptors present on the aortic arch, carotid sinus detect the decreased blood pressure, and they do their act. Now ADH act through kidney and causes increased reabsorption of water to restore blood volume, to increase blood volume, to control the tonicity and concentration of the plasma as well as total body fluid. So concentration become low because water is retained by the action of ADH through kidney. So this was the uh, pattern of secretion of ADH and its role in maintaining water content of the body. Some more detail about the mechanism of action of antidiuretic hormone. So main action of antidiuretic hormone is antidiuresis. There are receptors, specific receptors for the antidiuretic hormone present in the kidney, particularly on the peritubular, especially on the serosal surface of the cells of the distal convoluted tubules and medullary collecting ducts. When ADH combined with these receptors, there occur activation of adenylate cyclase AMP enzyme. It induces production and insertion of the aquaporin 2 channels into the luminal membrane and enhance the permeability of the cells. So this aquaporin 2 channel is responsible for water transport. As a result, there occur increased permeability, membrane permeability to water and allow water to diffuse back into the body. As a result, the increased urine osmolality. The urine passed at that time is of high concentration. That is, concentrated urine is passed because much of water is reabsorbed back by the kidney in the blood volume. So we can say that when blood volume or the arterial pressure decreases, inhibitory inputs from baroreceptor is overridden and ADH secretion is stimulated. So normally signals from the baroreceptors tonically inhibit ADH secretion. Under normal circumstances, ADH is not required because body is having good amount of water. But Secretion occur whenever there is a threat, there is depression or reduction in the water amount of the body is there. Now let's move to see the other actions of antidiuretic hormone. So main action of antidiuretic hormone is antidiuresis, but it also have other effects, mainly the vasopressive or the vasoconstrictive effect. Like on cardiovascular system, ADH tends to raise blood pressure due to its vasoconstrictive action. So when blood vessels become narrows, ultimately the blood pressure is increased. Particularly the pulmonary and the coronary arteries are all also influenced by the action of ADH, and they undergo constriction or the narrowing. Bradycardia, that is slowing of the heart rate, occurs due to increased reflex activity of the arterial baroreceptors. That's why the body water content is restored. This last point here in this portion of effect of ADH on CVS is mentioned the clinical use of the antidiuretic hormone. Many times, in many situations, it is used to stop bleeding from the esophageal varices. Esophageal varices is the condition in which blood vessels in the esophagus become ruptured due to various reasons, and it is an emergency situation, and it is controlled effectively by the use of antidiuretic hormone. So ADH is also used to treat hypovolemic shock, septic shock, and cardiac arrest. So this point is very important, considering various scenario based questions, because this relationship between the medical situations, emergency situation, and use of ADH can be asked in different ways. Another action which we can see in ADH is on respiration or the respiratory system. The respiratory rate is increased secondary to effect on cardiovascular system. There may be apnea as a result of ADH action on respiratory system. Let's move to see some more effect of antidiuretic hormone, like it has effect on skin. As a result of action of ADH, we will notice the pallor or skin become dull yellow, even when a small amount of ADH is secreted because of constriction of the skin blood vessels. On smooth muscles, particularly on the vascular smooth muscles, is causes their contraction, and the effect is through increasing the cytosolic calcium concentration. So calcium concentration is increased in smooth muscles, which bring about their contraction. Some other actions of ADH on metabolic aspects is that ADH causes increase in secretion of ACTH. ACTH is the hormone of anti-pituitary, you know. This ACTH causes an increased release of cortisol from the adrenal cortex. This cortisol, which is the secretion of adrenal cortex, it is a steroid in nature. It causes hyperglycemia by potentiating or by direct effect of ADH on hepatic glycogenolysis through V1A receptors. So in turn, we can say that cortisol is released under the influence of ACTH, and ACTH released under the influence of ADH, and the final effect, uh, considering the metabolism, particularly the carbohydrate metabolism, is hyperglycemia. So hyperglycemia means diabetic like situation. That's why ADH or the antidiuretic hormone is also diabetogenic, just like growth hormone. If you recall, if you go back and consider the main hormone of anti-pituitary, which we discussed in the previous lecture, that growth hormone is the main hormone of anterior pituitary, and the metabolic effect on carbohydrate metabolism, particularly of growth hormone, was also diabetogenic because it also create hyperglycemia. In fact, as you are studying different hormones, as you will progress further, you will notice that there is only one hormone in the endocrinology, which is hypoglycemic, which is the insulin, and all other hormones are usually hyperglycemic, like cortisol, glucagon, or growth hormone. They all have anti-insulinic actions. That is, all of them tend to raise blood glucose level. So you can now uh, you must appreciate the effort of insulin, that it is keeping balance and fighting against all other hormones, and throughout the life it try to maintain the blood glucose level by its lowering action, because it is hypoglycemic. Another lesser secondary effect noticed in case of ADH is mediated through the V2 receptors, which are non-renal receptors, and they causes the stimulation and synthesis of release of factor 8 and von Willebrand factors. These factors are the clotting factors. They are involved, and they are involved in maintaining the hemostasis of the body. So have the von Willebrand factor have role in hemostasis process. So these are the actions of antidiuretic hormone. Now the next hormone of the posterior pituitary is oxytocin. So oxytocin is another hormone of posterior pituitary, and it is secreted by supraoptic nucleus. But there are some authorities and researchers claim that it is also synthesized and secreted by paraventricular nucleus, especially in certain species. Oxytocin is predominantly secreted by paraventricular nucleus, but in most of the instances we notice that supraoptic nucleus is the source of oxytocin. Actually, oxytocin is present in both male and female, but its established action is seen in women. Structurally, biochemical structure of oxytocin is just like the structure of ADH. That is, it is also made up of 9 amino acids, so it is a nanopeptide, but there is a disulfide bridge, and the types of amino acid is different. The release of oxytocin is under the influence of estrogen, suckling, manipulation of female genital tract, pain, and stress. So these factors are releasing factors causing release of oxytocin from supraoptic nucleus of hypothalamus. Regarding synthesis, it has different steps and forms. For example, initially it is produced as oxyphycin, which is then cleaved during its processing to oxytocin and neurophysin. Regarding oxytocins, there are some sites other than hypothalamus are also secreting oxytocin, like gonads, adrenal cortex, thymus, uterus, and various parts of the brain. Now come on to see the biochemical actions of oxytocin. Its main action is on uterus, while other actions, significant action is on mammary glands and female genital tract, as well as it has also its effects on blood vessels, anterior pituitary, and corpus luteum. Before going to see the individual actions, let's consider some detail or some information about the mechanism of action of oxytocin. So just like ADH, it also has receptors which are mainly identified or seen in myometrium and myoepithelial cells of the breast. So during its action, it first combined to the receptor, and a specific G protein GQ is involved in its action, which causes the activation of the pathway through which phospholipase C and calciums are released. Finally, the effect of oxytocin is to increase the intracellular calcium levels. The later on, the remaining action of oxytocins are continued by these released calcium. So uterus is the main organ influenced and affected by oxytocin. So we can say that uterine contraction is the most prominent biochemical action of oxytocin. When it oxytocin combined with the receptors, oxytocin receptors on the musculature of the uterus, it causes severe and significant contraction of the uterine muscles, and it induces labor in pregnant females. Increase in oxytocin receptors of the uterus is observed in the late pregnancy. So this is an important point to notice that during the pregnancy, particularly in the uh, final stages of pregnancy, the oxytocin receptors are increased. At that time, even the concentration or the level of oxytocin is normal, but because of increase in number of receptors, the labor inducing action of oxytocin is greatly achieved. It may act as endogenous signal for initiating labor. So process of childbirth or the labor is induced by the oxytocin. As I just mentioned that it is present in circulation throughout pregnancy, but its level increases only during final stage of labor, and its action is found to or observed to be looking increased because of increase in receptors during later stages of pregnancy. Prostaglandins and estrogens potentiate or facilitate the responsiveness of uterus to oxytocin. Progesterone inhibits the responsiveness of the uterus. It is having a resistive action of oxytocin on uterus, while alcohol inhibits the secretion of oxytocin. So we can say that the biochemical effects of oxytocin measure or the significant or the most prominent action of oxytocin is on uterus, and we can say that oxytocin exerts a very strong stimulant effect on uterine musculature. This effect is opposed by progesterone, as I just mentioned you. Actually, the immature and non-gravid uterus is quite resistant to the action of oxytocin because estrogen is not present. So estrogen has a potentiating effect on uterus by oxytocin. It means that when estrogen is present, the action of oxytocin is quite significant, quite big. Otherwise, if estrogen is not present, the and oxytocin is present, even then the action is not very significant. So this is the point you have to notice. Other action of oxytocin other than uterus is on mammary gland. It is also a significant or the one of the major biochemical effect of oxytocin. As a result of this effect, it causes milk ejection, particularly after parturition by performing the contraction of the myoepithelial cells of the lactating breast. These cells, these breast cells are abundant around the nipple and areola of the breast, and the sensory nerve endings localized in the nipple and areola of the breast are stimulated by suckling. So milk rejection starts within few minutes after suckling, and secretion of oxytocin greatly increase during the suckling. So in this way, milk letdown process or the milk rejection is observed. We notice that deficiency of oxytocin secretion results in difficulty in nursing due to inadequate milk ejection. So milk ejection is under the effect of oxytocin on mammary gland, particularly on its myoepithelial cells. So this is the biochemical effect of oxytocin on breast and mammary gland. Oxytocin also has actions in males and non-pregnant females. It has a significant role in physiology of sexual responses by facilitating the contraction of the smooth muscles of the uterus and vagina in women. It also enhances both egg and sperm transport, thus promoting the reproductive success. That is, conception becomes or fertilization become uh, easy, or chances of fertilization increases by the effect of oxytocin. Actually, it is released at the climax of human sexual response in both sexes, and particularly in female it causes contraction of the non-pregnant uterus, while in male it causes contraction of the vas deferens and causes increase in sperm transport. So overall, sexual process and the sex process is enhanced by the action of oxytocin. Regarding action of oxytocin on blood vessels, it causes marked vasodilation and fall in blood pressure, as along with tachycardia, that is increase in the heart rate. On corpus luteum, it causes degeneration of corpus luteum, and various experiments have shown that oxytocin along with estrogen induces maternal behavior in virgin female rats. Oxytocin is present in high quantities in the breast milk, and it is involved in the milk ejection. It is also produced in detectable amounts in brain of newly born mammals, because there are certain other sites or the cells present in the body for releasing posterior pituitary hormones. Oxytocin is likely responsible for the reciprocal bonding of the offspring to their mother. That's why it is also called the hormone of love. Oxytocin is named as hormone of love because of this action, having natural bonding effect between the mother and offspring. Now it is time to consider and see and discuss some disorders of the posterior pituitary gland. In this case, number one is the diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus is the situation which is seen due to deficiency of the vasopressin or the antidiuretic hormone, or defective, damage or reduction in vasopressin receptors. So any one of this situation leads to a condition called diabetes insipidus. It is diabetes, but it is not a well-known diabetes mellitus. In diabetes mellitus, there is hyperglycemia, polyuria, means excessive urine formation, but this urine have glucose and there is hyperglycemia. But in this case, in diabetes insipidus, there is polyuria, but the urine passed is watery without glucose, and there is not significant hyperglycemia. So urine passed in diabetes insipidus is of low specific gravity. It is dilute urine. Main causes of diabetes insipidus are neurogenic, which may be central, hypothalamic, or pituitary. Means the causes obstructing the release or the synthesis of antidiuretic hormone may be anywhere around these areas. Nephrogenic, the cause is in kidney. So vasopressin resistant. So antidiuretic hormone is present, but kidney is not receiving or not following its action, showing resistant. Another cause is gestagenic, means gestational during pregnancy. So pregnancy is a sort of endocrinological imbalance in which ADH secretion is not proper or deficient, may leads to diabetes insipidus. And sometimes we use the word dipsogenic. If someone has excess water intake, then there is features like diabetes insipidus may be observed. Main sign and symptoms and the clinical features of the diabetes insipidus are the polyuria, polydipsia, nocturia, hypernatremic dehydration, anorexia, constipations, and there is raised metabolic rate and lack of sweating along with the symptoms of underlying cause. So main causes, as I mentioned, are these. So some other symptoms may be present accordingly, so depending on the main cause of this disorder. Regarding treatment or the management of the diabetes insipidus, it is treated by intravenous or subcutaneous injection of desmopressin, which is a synthetic analog of antidiuretic hormone. Other routes of administration like nasal inhalation or oral tablets can also be used. Another disorder of the posterior pituitary noticed is syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. It occurs in the situation where there is excessive release of ADH or inappropriate ADH secretion is there. It is supposed to be the most common cause of hyponatremia. So too much antidiuretic hormone is released. Under various situations, it causes body to retain fluid and lower the blood sodium level by dilution. So when water content is increased, water retention is there, so relatively the sodium content become less. There are certain drugs which also causes this effect like chloropromamide, vincristine, cyclophosphamide, oxytocin, general anesthetics, narcotics, tricyclic antidepressants. All this group can cause increased release of ADH. There are certain areas where ADH can also be secreted. These are called ectopic ADH secretions. It is seen in various malignancies like small cell carcinoma of the lung, lymphosarcoma, Hodgkin disease, as well as in respiratory disorders, particularly the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. So in these disorders, the sites other than the hypothalamus and posterior pituitary are responsible to release ADH, and this ADH is supposed to be the extra ADH and responsible for creating the features of syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. So there are certain other situations like respiratory problems of tuberculosis, pneumonia, COPD already mentioned, Guillain-Barré syndrome, acute intermittent porphyria, systemic lupus erythematosus, and various renovascular hypertensive disorders, cardiac failures may cause this problem. Nausea, vomiting, muscle cramps are the main features noticed in SIADH, means syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. Treatment is symptomatic, means according to the cause and according to the symptoms, and try to find out the underlying cause so that long prolonged treatment or the prolonged good result may achieved. So this was all about the ADH and oxytocins, the main hormone of the posterior pituitary. Now the last slides are about the summary having a quick review of the topic, like posterior pituitary or the neurohypophysis is a type of it is a part of pituitary gland secreting the two main hormones from the supraoptic and the paraventricular nucleus. These are the ADH or vasopressin and oxytocins. ADH acts through its receptors, which are the V1 and V2, present on the vascular smooth muscles and the kidney respectively. In the detail, we have already noticed that V1 has V1A and V1B. Main function of ADH is to control plasma osmolality, and uh, in case of deficiency of the ADH, the problem occur is the diabetes insipidus. One of the clinical use of antidiuretic hormone is to stop bleeding from esophageal varices, as well as it is also used to treat hypovolemic and septic shock as well as cardiac arrest. Regarding oxytocin, most important and the most prominent action of oxytocin is uterine contraction. It has a significant role in initiating the process of labor, particularly at the later stage of pregnancy when the number of oxytocin receptors are uh, significantly increased. Lack of vasopressin or VP receptors dysfunction results in the condition known as diabetes insipidus. While syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion is due to excessive secretion of ADH and causes hyponatremia. In syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, there is increase in body fluid retentions. As a result, the sodium is diluted and hyponatremia situation is resulted. So this was the end of topic of biochemistry of posterior pituitary hormones. Here are references and the sources for more learning. So this comes to the end of this lecture. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Assalamu alaikum. Best of luck.